Hello everyone, my name is Fraheen and I am the WinWisconsin Program Coordinator. We are a grassroots movement started less than a year ago by a few folks like myself based in California in partnership with Lou, our speaker today, who is in Madison. Our goal is to raise money and find volunteers for the Wisconsin Democratic Party so that we can win Wisconsin this November. Thank you so much to our host this evening, singer and actor Beth Malone and her team, David Dyer, Damian Smith, Sonia Meyer, as well as Nancy Burns and Debbie Cote. You are all in for a special treat. A few logistical points before we begin. If you have any questions or comments during the presentation, please use the Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we will do our best to answer your questions during an optional session at the end of this presentation. If you hear anything that inspires you today, please go to our website, winwisconsin.org, and fill out our Stay in Touch form. This is a crucial moment, and we need everyone's help to win in November. With that said, I will turn it over to our first hosts, Nancy and Debbie.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Win Wisconsin webinar. I'm Nancy Burns here in Minneapolis with my spouse, Debbie Cote, and we are so grateful and thankful for your attendance. Debbie and I have been working with Win Wisconsin since June and strongly believe in its goal to remove Donald Trump from office in 2020 by winning the state of Wisconsin. And before I turn it over to Debbie to talk about tonight's program, I just personally want to say how impressed I am with the Win Wisconsin organization, its ability to both fundraise and, more importantly, distribute every dollar raised directly to the Wisconsin Democratic field staff who support the tireless volunteers throughout the state of Wisconsin.
Hi everyone, this is Debbie Cote. Many thanks to you for joining us this evening. As you all know, these are challenging times. We're in a pandemic, racial injustice abounds, the post office is in crisis, and on it goes. In the face of all this, we have an administration who almost daily assaults truth, decency, and good governance. Well, we could wallow in despair, and believe me, there are days we have. But Nancy and I decided that we would commit to helping to bring about change. And that is why we have gotten involved with Win Wisconsin and agreed to co-host this webinar. Tonight, you will hear from Professor Lou Freeland from UW-Madison about why Wisconsin is so pivotal in November, about the Democratic Party's grassroots efforts on the ground there, and about how a group of concerned citizens, much like yourself, throughout this country have banded together to make a difference in Wisconsin. First, in the midterm elections of 2018, and now in this November. Finally, we will tell you how you too can join Win Wisconsin. We're also honored this evening to have as our co-host, actress and singer Beth Malone, accompanied by David Dyer, Sonia Meyer, and Damian Smith. Beth is known for her work on and off Broadway, especially in the role of Alison Bechtel in the musical Fun Home, for which she was nominated for a Tony Award as Best Actress in a Musical. At this time, I'm thrilled to turn the floor over to our friend Beth to kick off this webinar with an inspiring song.
Gotta keep hope alive, guys. We can't change this. She was walking down the street, looked up, noticed he was nameless, he was homeless. She asked him his name and he told him what hers was. She gave him a story about a life with a glint in his eye and a corner of a smile. One conversation, a simple moment, the things that change us if we notice when we look up sometimes. They said I would never make it, but I was built to break the mold. The only dream that I've been chasing is my own. I sing a a song for the hustlers trading at the bus stop, single mothers waiting for the check to come, young teachers, student doctors working on the front line, knowing they don't get to run. This goes out to the underdog. Keep on keeping what you love. You'll find out someday, soon enough, you will rise up, yeah. She was riding in a taxi back to the kitchen, talking to the driver about his children and wife. A first responder risking her life to give you her love and get it right on time. She looked in his eye in the mirror and he smiled. One conversation, a simple moment, the things that change us if we notice when we look up sometimes. They said I would never make it, but I was built to break the mold. The only dream that I've been chasing is my own. So I sing a song for the hustlers trading at the bus stop, single mothers waiting for a check to come, young teachers, student doctors working on the front line, knowing they don't get to run. This goes out to the underdog. Keep on keeping what you love. You'll find out someday, soon enough, you will rise up, yeah. There's not enough rope to tie me down. There's not enough tape to shut this mouth. The stones they throw may make us bleed, but we won't stop until we're freed. Wild hearts can't be broken. Wild hearts can't be broken. This goes out to the hustlers trading at the bus stop, single mothers waiting for a check to come, young teachers, student doctors working on the front line, knowing they don't get to run. This goes out to the underdog. Keep on keeping what you love. You'll find out someday, soon enough, you will rise up, rise up. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. This is Damian Smith, Sonia Meyer, and David Dyer. I am Beth Malone, and we need to win Wisconsin. Thank you for the work you're all doing. Keep on keeping it what you love, and we're gonna win this thing in November 3rd. Come on.
Thank you all so much. That was absolutely amazing. I have to say, it's like I've been doing, I don't know how many of these we've been doing, but I think we're, I don't know, at 20 or something like that. That's the most fun I've ever had at one. And I got to tell you, seriously, it was terrific. Thank you, Beth, David, Sonia, Damian, and really seriously appreciate it so much. And Deb and Nancy, of course. Hi, everybody. My name is Lou Friedland. As Deb said, I am a professor in my day job at the University of Wisconsin, but I also have to make clear that I'm here as a citizen volunteer for the WinWisconsin movement, which with Faheen and Marcy Whitebook and a few other folks, we started back in November because we basically asked ourselves the question that, and really it was Marcy, me, Carl, her husband, walking my dog, my poodle Pip, and we were out walking here in Madison, and we basically asked ourselves, you know, one question. Okay, so the question is this. It's pretty straightforward, really. What will it take? And Deb said it very well when she introduced Beth and the gang. What will it take to get rid of this man? What will it take to win Wisconsin? What will it take to restore decency and sanity, good governance, care for the environment, care for human rights, racial justice, and dignity back to the United States? And I'm here tonight with a very hopeful message because I can tell you what it will take. And most people agree this is what it will take, and it's something within our grasp to achieve. It'll take winning Wisconsin. Wisconsin is the tipping point state by most agreement in the 2020 election. Now, all these states that you see here on the left, all these blue states, they add up to 269 electoral votes. All these states on the right where Trump is more popular than he is in Wisconsin, get up to 259 votes. And right there, folks, it takes 270 to win. Wisconsin's right in the middle. So we have to win this state. Pretty much everyone agrees if we win Wisconsin for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we've won the election. And this is just another way of looking at it. Right across the finish line. This pushes us across the finish line, and we have to get across that finish line. I think everybody on this call probably knows that, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but I'm going to tell you why we're going to win Wisconsin, how we're going to win Wisconsin, and what you can do. Now, in case you're wondering, New York Times just 2 days ago, every day there's a story like this. If you look in the New York Times or pretty much any major paper in the United States, Washington Post, this basically said that the 5-point margin here in Wisconsin, it's a story about Wisconsin, is about half of what Mr. Biden's lead when the Times last polled Wisconsin in June. Of the northern battlegrounds, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, Wisconsin is seen as Trump's best chance for winning again this year. And the Trump campaign knows that. Donald Trump is in our state in Mosinee tonight. He's been here multiple times. Mike Pence has been here, I think, close to a half dozen times. They know that this is their last stand. If they lose here, they lose. Now, how are we going to win? Or why do we have to win? Our elections are razor thin. Razor, razor, razor thin. Trump won this state. And I want this to sink into everybody here tonight. In 2016, the reason we have Donald Trump as president right now is because he won this state by 0.7%, 22,700 votes. That is why Donald Trump is president. That was the margin for our collective misery, to put it bluntly. 2018, however, as Deb and Nancy said, we mobilized in Wisconsin. Our governor, Tony Evers, beat Scott Walker, Republican, by 1.1%, 29,000 votes. So that's the margin we're fighting for. We know we can do it because we did it in 2018. We won by 29,000. Trump won by 22,000. Someplace in between there, that 50,000 some odd votes is what we're fighting about. And we have to win the majority of them. We lost a Supreme Court battle last year by 5,900 votes, half a percentage of that election. And that was a horrible defeat. But April of this year, Jill Karofsky, our progressive Supreme Court candidate, won her seat by 160,000 votes. So you can see that's 11%. So we are ready. We are battle tested. We've been mobilizing for 4 years, and we can win this thing. How are the Republicans going to win? Their strategy is to suppress the vote, suppress the vote, suppress the vote, suppress the vote, make it hard for people, people of color, students, and anyone who basically opposes them to win. And they're throwing everything at us that they can. Recently, they announced again, I want you to note the time here, September 9th, a few days ago, effort to recall Governor Tony Evers in the midst of a pandemic. This is what they're spending their time doing, because they know it's a curveball and we have to spend time defending it. Just 2 days ago, the Wisconsin Supreme Court, about a week ago, the Supreme Court halted the mailing out of absentee ballots, which would have thrown the election in chaos. Fortunately, one judge, a conservative judge, actually followed the law. It's kind of a miracle, to be perfectly honest. But we actually won that case yesterday or 2 days ago. And so basically, but we had to spend a week and a half focusing on this. So we have constant curveballs thrown in our head. So the Republican strategy, as I said, is suppress the vote. This is the election in Milwaukee, that April Supreme Court election. People, the Supreme Court, same Supreme Court, I should say, refused to move the election, refused to allow the governor to move the election in order to make it safer for people. So out of 182 polling places in Milwaukee, they were reduced to 5. And Milwaukee, as many of you might know, is a majority African-American city. And what that meant is that tens of thousands of people in Milwaukee had to risk their health and their lives in order to come out and vote. And that's exactly what they did. Many people said afterwards, some variant of my parents or my grandparents down south, they fought, they risked their lives to vote. They're not going to take the vote away from us. And I want to stress the presidential election had already been decided. So the presidential primary, I should say. So these folks were coming out in an election that normally they would not turn out for, to demonstrate that they were not going to have their right to vote taken away. This is my old neighborhood in Milwaukee. You can see people respectfully, in a social distance way, and this is way back in April, before we even understood what that meant, standing not just around the block, but around the entire neighborhood, waiting for hours in line to vote and putting their health at risk. 72 people at least got COVID identifiably from that election, probably more, and probably some died in order to exercise their right to vote. Here we have Robin Vos, the assembly leader of the Republicans, who fought tooth and nail to keep that election from being postponed, telling everyone you are incredibly safe to go out while he was dressed up in his own version of protection here. So that speaks for itself. Our strategy is very simple, actually. It's to win every single vote, and we need to win every single vote. Every one of those in that 50,000 margin, every vote. This is a woman who works with Black Leaders Organizing Communities in Milwaukee, fabulous organization. In February, Sleet, I know we have some Minnesotans and some Wisconsinites here and some people probably from the East Coast. If you know what February sleet is, it's bone chilling cold. They knocked on 16,000 doors for that April election in Milwaukee. So we're gonna win Milwaukee. We're gonna win every single vote that we can. Now, how did this start? I just want you to give you a tiny bit of history here, a tiny bit of background. Way back in 2011, when Scott Walker won the governorship, he and the Republican legislature passed Act 10, which took rights to organize away from teachers, from government workers, and this was the response. Hundreds of thousands, 100,000+ of people turning out, not one day, not 2 days, not 3 days, but 4 days, 5 days around the Capitol to defend our rights. What they did is they gerrymandered the legislature after they won control of the government, so that basically the Republicans in 2018, to give you an example, they won only 44% of the vote, but they won 66 seats in the legislature to the Democrats' 35. So basically, that's the level of anti-democratic behavior that we're up against here. Now, you saw, by the way, I'm right over here, back right over here someplace. It was cold too. You saw who turned out, how many people turned out, but some of them were farmers from the western part of the state, Crawford County, as a matter of fact, who had formed a tractorcade. Not just one farmer here with this tractor, there was a whole tractorcade in from the western part of the state. Union cab workers were parading around the Capitol. We had high steel workers, firefighters, teamsters, workers from across the state came out to support teachers and government workers. And of course, those teachers and government workers came from all over the state as well. And many of them are what, common parlance today is called white working class people. They were union supporters. Some of them voted for Obama. Some of them voted for Obama twice and then voted for Trump. Now, probably no one on this call likes that. I don't like it either, but you don't win people's votes by telling them how horrible they are. You win them by persuading them, and we need to win some of them back. They were with us. They have a sense of solidarity through labor, and we're going to win some of those votes back. Now, here's the good news and the bad news. I'll give you the bad news first. You can see what a big state this is, Crawford County right here. You can see what a big state this is. We have a lot of territory to cover, and we have to cover it all, including with sometimes some fairly small and it's besieged local county Democratic parties. But the good news is this: Wisconsin, despite being so big, is urbanized in ways that you wouldn't expect. 96% of the people live in these urban areas, and those urban areas, even though they're small and small towns, they tend to vote Democratic. So the good news is that there's lots of Democrats in all these little yellow and red dots and blotches here, and we've got to reach all of them. So our strategy is, and I mean this quite literally, is to reach every single one of them. Everyone who is a Democrat, anyone who's voted Democratic, anyone who's leaning Democratic, anyone who we think is, through research and calling, is persuadable. We are trying to reach out to actually talk to every single one of them, and we're going to do it. How are we going to do it? How are we doing it? Through our Neighbor to Neighbor program. Neighbor to Neighbor was started in 2017 under our party chair, Martha Lanning, sort of an unsung hero of our state. It's now been the most successful grassroots rebuilding of any Democratic party in the nation. County parties in some of those small counties like Sawyer and Crawford, local activists, all volunteer teams who are capable of running their own door-to-door canvasses, got together and formed volunteer teams. Historically, this was done by paid organizers and one-time volunteers, but basically we've been doing it now we will have done it for 44 months when we hit November, 44 straight months. That's unprecedented in elections. That's a kind of organizing that's associated with long-term movement building, not with electoral campaigning. It's the largest and most efficient grassroots canvas in the United States. Just initially, we cut our cost per knocking on a door in half. That's just literally the cost to get somebody out in the field and have them knock on a door. But this is the statistic that still blows me away every time I say it. Our cost per conversation, that's how much it costs to actually talk to somebody once they answer that door, fell from $120 in 2017 to $13.97 in 2019, and it's still going down. And the only reason for that is because the massive outpouring of grassroots energy and organizing that we have here in Wisconsin. This is Lisa on the left, and Sue. Lisa's a good friend of mine, actually. They're co-leaders of the Northside Action Team here in Madison. Back in that April election that I just told you about, where we had the great victory, they led a team of about 250 people to knock on 10,000 doors from this one team. We have 250 of these teams across the United States. Now, as everybody here's probably figured out already, they can't go knock on doors anymore. Way back in February, the extraordinary leadership of the Democratic Party, led by Ben Wickler, formerly of Move On, Nellie Shires, and Anna Surrey, our great organizing director, they knew that 2020 would be a different election. It'd probably be an all-male and a virtual election. And so basically, they started to plan for this election, and they used April as a dress rehearsal, essentially a war game, bluntly, in order to see how we would work in this all virtual situation. There was a massive push to get people to obtain and return absentee ballots, and Neighbor to Neighbor was still very important in this effort, because these were connections that people have been building up with their neighbors for 4 years. So you go down to the coffee shop and you see this person who maybe was knocking on your door. Dusty and Sonia in my neighborhood down the street, you walk their dogs together, you see Walter, their bulldog, and then you say, hey, have you guys got your ballot yet? So we've been building up this neighbor to neighbor infrastructure for years. Now, of course, we've made it digital. We're using new state-of-the-art massive phone banking techniques, text banking techniques, and new relational organizing tools that allow people to reach out to their own personal networks. And we made some mistakes in April because it was the first time we'd done it, but now we're doing it, and we're won again by 160,000 votes, and that's the result of this organizing. So now, of course, we need everybody of those in all those little towns and little hamlets across the state, as well as cities. We need to generate as many ballot requests as possible from Democrats and Democrat-leaning absentee voters. We need to convert these into return ballots. We need to make sure they were received and returned. So I want you to understand, used to be we were, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I should say, we were planning to knock on all these doors with these volunteer teams. Now we have to contact these folks, see if they've if they've registered, if they've applied for an absentee ballot, if they got their absentee ballot, if they've returned their absentee ballot, if they've checked to see whether the clerk actually received their absentee ballot, and then go through the whole thing again if they haven't. That's 5-6 times the level of effort that we were planning on back in January. But we're doing it. We're doing it because we're going to win the state. We need to make sure that every ballot is counted. But also, and I think everyone here probably understands this, we need to prepare to fight past November 3rd. Donald Trump basically is trying to delegitimate this election because he knows he can't win it, honestly, and he knows he's losing. And the Republicans, as I've said before, they proved it here starting way back in 2011. They will cheat, they will gerrymander, they will suppress votes in order to win. So we have to be ready to litigate. The Democratic Party of Wisconsin is allied with the Service Employees International Union, the NAACP. We're ready to litigate, but there's also other things that we need to do to protect the vote. It's not just a question of being ready to litigate. Our election day starts now. It starts tomorrow. Ballots are being sent out tomorrow. We are now fighting this election now, essentially. We've tripled our election protection team. Again, an expense that we weren't budgeting for necessarily back in November when we started in Wisconsin. We need an army of attorneys in every polling place, every place that ballots are being counted, because the Republicans have already indicated that not only are they going to intimidate people at the polls, and remember, this is a state where an armed kid, 17-year-old armed with an AR-15, so-called militia member, I don't even like to dignify it with that word, shot and killed 2 people and wounded a third, right? So when they talk about election intimidation encouraged by the president, we have to be prepared to defend our polling places. We need to prepare to have attorneys at every one. This battle may not end. I think it probably won't, unfortunately, on election night. So we are getting it done. In April, we sent out in this again, gaming for this election, 3 million texts, made 1 million calls, millions of digital impressions. And what we did is we generated 80,000 ballots, 80,000 people voting that would not have been otherwise. And that's the margin, likely to be the margin of this election. We've been in federal court to extend ballot deadlines, but that costs money. We've fought to suspend photo ID unsuccessfully. Every person who registers in the state has to have a very particular form of ID. It's very onerous, considered one of the most onerous voter ID laws in the country. But we've built the earliest and largest voter protection team in the Democratic Party history. We have a voter assistance hotline. We're working with Stacey Abrams in Fair Fight. We have all volunteer lawyer teams, but those volunteer lawyer teams need to be led by trained people, trained organizers, trained lawyers. So here's what we need from you, with you. We need more regional and field organizers, especially with digital skills. We're hiring them every day. We've just gotten a flood of applications from the creme de la creme of organizers in the United States. Wisconsin, we're sort of hip in a certain way. I hear Damien laughing, but we're sort of hip. We are the ones who are showing the country how to do this. And so field organizers, organizers for Buttigieg, Warren, and other people, top people are applying here, but we need to pay them, and we need to pay them now. We need to be able to hire them and get them out in the field. We need to pay for voter protection, including the lawyers to head those volunteer lawyer teams. And so what we're asking you for is your help on a monthly basis. It really matters if you can give us an open-ended, by which I mean 3 months, 4 months, depending on when the election actually ends, an open-ended contribution, because if you give us a monthly donation, that can be projected on through, and that allows us to actually send somebody out in the field. $5,000 is the magic number. For every $5,000, give or take, that we raise, we can send an organizer out in the field tomorrow. And that's, you know, a decent salary. We don't rip people off. We pay them, we give them full health benefits, pay them decent wages. It is still an 18-hour day. That's the nature of campaigns. But, and believe me, the staff of the Democratic Party, I know these folks, I've been working with them, and they're working 18 hours a day, 6 and 7 days a week. So we need to pay those folks. We need to pay the organizers. Every dollar that you give, though, to us goes to send an organizer out in the field. That's where your money's going. It's not going for consultants or ads. It's going to send organizers out in the field. The Biden campaign was so impressed with our campaign that they basically said, you run it for us in Wisconsin. And believe me, that's not done. Professional presidential campaigns usually come in, they Bigfoot everybody. They say, you know, get out of the way, Junior. We know how it's done. They looked at our organization. They said, can we hire your top organizers and just use the Democratic Party of Wisconsin to run our campaign? So we are the Biden-Harris campaign in Wisconsin. We're the tipping point. We can win. We will win if you give us your help. And I'm asking you tonight to go to wisdems.org/WinWisconsin. And if you can do it tonight, do it now even while I'm talking, if you could, and give us a monthly donation. Now, I'm a professor. I'm not poor. You know, professors are paid reasonably well. We're upper middle class folks. My wife is a retiree. I've been giving about $1,250 a month. You know, it's not, my mortgage is not in danger. It's about three car payments, not 2 car payments. I'm not driving that good a car, but you know, 3 car payments. You know, it's gonna be about $10,000-12,000 by the time I'm all done. Maybe a little more than that. That's a lot of money, but you know what? If you're saving for a vacation, don't worry about it, because you're not going on any vacation right now. You can't go camping in the West because Donald Trump has helped set it on fire. You can't. I was in Detroit a few weeks ago meeting my son and his partner, and I was staring across the river at Canada, and I realized I can't go there because Donald Trump has made us a pariah in the eyes of the world. Can't go to Europe. Obviously, you can't, and hope you wouldn't go on a cruise at this point. There aren't any cruises to go on, but maybe you've been saving for a vacation. Maybe you have an extra $1,000 or $2 that, yes, I know money is money. It's real money. It's real money to me too. But honestly, if you help us by giving us a generous donation, whatever you can, and then a little more for the next 2 to 3 months, we will give you the best vacation you've ever had in your life, the vacation that keeps on giving forever, a permanent vacation from Donald Trump. So that's what we're asking you to help us do. We are in solidarity with you. We've been fighting since 2011. Wisconsin used to be known as the laboratory of democracy. And Scott Walker and the Republicans, along with the Koch brothers, and I mean that literally, not metaphorically, they gave him hundreds of thousands of dollars, have turned this into a laboratory for oligarchy, but we're going to turn it back into a laboratory for democracy with your help. We are in solidarity with you who are in New York, you who are in California and Colorado, you know, in blue states, people on this call, this webinar. We are working with you. This is not, you know, yes, we want you to help us, but we are working with you, for you. This is the place where we will stop Donald Trump, where we will put an end to this all, when we will begin to restore, take the first steps at least towards sanity, decency, civility, racial justice, equality in this country again. We are at a hinge moment, a moment of huge possible change when we can rebuild this country, but we need to win in Wisconsin first. So please, please, please give us everything you can and then a little bit more. We've gotten $50,000 donations. It's still hard for me to believe. Just the other day, we got a $10,000 donation just from somebody in New York who knew what we were doing. We've gotten $5,000 donations, but we've also gotten you know, retirees out in California give us $250 a month since last January when we got rolling for real with our webinars. People give us $100 a month. Some people can't afford that. They give us 50. And those folks who can't afford that give us 20. Whatever you can afford to give us. We understand everyone on this call doesn't have equal resources, but if you can give us a monthly donation right now, it will really make a huge difference in winning the state and getting this country back to where it ought to be. So you've been listening to me for what I'm sure all of you think of as too long by now, but I thank you so much for doing that. And as a reward, hopefully you've all donated something, but even if you haven't, you're here on this call, you're with us tonight. Oh, I should say one last thing before I turn back to your reward. We've also organized corps of volunteers all across the country, Bay Area, Boston, some folks in DC. So if you go to winwisconsin.org, you can also find out how to volunteer, how to call or text or help us that way too. Maybe you don't have any money, and I get that. Some people just, you know, these are tough times. So if you don't have any money and you can't afford to help us with money, that's great. Go make some calls. Go make some calls with us. Help us win the state. And so again, I see them. Okay, good. We're gonna go back to Beth, David, Sonia, and Damien for our concluding tune for tonight. And then when they're done, I'll come back. I don't want to scare anybody, but I'll come back and I'll answer questions for you if you have them. As many as you want, I will stay here. So Beth.
Hi, that was great. We
Thanks,
learned a lot.
Lou.
Damien has something to say really quick.
Hi, Mom.
Where is she?
Gays Mills, Wisconsin,
At the public library?
at the public library.
Yeah.
Crawford
Hello,
County Public
Damien's
Library.
mom.
Damien's mom is at the Crawford County Public Library watching this, learning what she can do and what we can all do. And we're so happy that we are part of this. So here we go.
Thank you.
Yep. I believe kids ought to stay kids as long as they can. Turn off the screen, go climb a tree, get dirt on their hands. I believe you gotta forgive and make amends. 'Cause nobody gets a second chance to make new old friends. I believe in working hard for what you got, even if it don't add up to a hell of a lot. I believe most people are good and most mamas aren't qualified for sainthood. I believe most Friday nights look better under the honest medium lights. I believe you love who you love, ain't nothing you should ever be ashamed of. I believe this world ain't half as bad as it looks. I believe most people are good. I believe Colorado has the best terrain. Woohoo! But any day we're out, you won't hear us complain. I believe that youth is spent well on the young. 'Cause wisdom in your teens would be a lot less fun. I believe if you just go by the nightly news, your faith in all mankind would be the first thing you lose. I believe most people are good, most mamas aren't qualified for sainthood. I believe most Friday nights look better under the honest medium lights. I believe you love who you love, and nothing you should ever be ashamed of. I believe this world most people are good. I believe the days go slow, the years go fast, and every breath's a gift, the first one to the last. I believe most people are good, and most mamas aren't part of the sainthood. I believe most Friday nights look better underneath on the stadium lights. I believe you love who you love, and nothing you should ever be ashamed of. I believe this world ain't half as bad as it looks.
I believe most people are good.
We're counting on it. I believe most people are good. I believe most people are good. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving everything you can.
Please give.
Bye.